I'm Jonathan Hill.
And I'm Todd Leggett. This show will take a look at some of the top stories of the spring semester. We begin our team coverage with the presidential inauguration.
On January 21st, students flocked to the National Mall to watch President Obama's second inauguration. I was there to report on the excitement.
I'm just so excited about Obama, the things that's going to happen in the future. I want to be a part of history.
This had to be here.
Well, this is a historical event, and for him to become the second term president is just awesome. So we wanted to be here. We're here from California.
Hundreds of thousands of people gathered on the National Mall to see President Barack Obama sworn in a second time.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute.
Rhonda Richardson and Jawaria Sabir arrived on the bus from North Carolina this morning to see the president inaugurated.
It's incredible to see this many people get together. Not that you expect something negative to happen, like there was a guy that was yelling something. People paid him absolutely no mind. The crowd stayed positive and just ignored him. And it was a good outcome.
A pro-choice protester climbed a pine tree outside the Capitol and chanted throughout the ceremony. Onlookers shouted him down, and eventually the man came down after the swearing-in ceremony was over.
I think despite these unexpected road bumps, I think everything's gone really smoothly.
It was the 57th presidential inauguration.
Volunteers wearing red hats were scattered throughout the National Mall. Spotlight reporter Annalisa Gale has more on their duties.
Supporters of President Barack Obama gathered on the National Mall on Inauguration Day, which also fell on Martin Luther King Day.
Both are very significant things that I've had an opportunity to go down to the monument to visit Dr. King's monument, as well as to be here present to see the president take his second oath.
Deborah Chapman is in a wheelchair, but that didn't stop her from showing her support.
I am very excited. I'm very happy. I didn't think that this day would ever come in my lifetime, but it did. And thank God this is not just the first one, but it's the second term for him.
Volunteers came from all over the country to lend a hand. Each were given a red hat to wear proudly.
I'm really impressed with all the volunteers. I mean, some of these people have been up here since 3 in the morning, and I can't believe how much energy they have.
Some volunteers were assigned the task of greeting visitors as they made their way onto the National Mall to experience the 57th presidential inauguration.
Hey, yo, I'm pretty history!
Yes, you are.
For volunteer Sherry Wyatt, it wasn't just about President Barack Obama's re-election. It was also about helping fellow citizens enjoy the day.
Started out as a greeter this morning and greeting people, and it's just amazing the kind of reception that people give you when you are thanking them for being here and welcoming them.
During the swearing-in ceremony, volunteers passed out flags so that when the oath of office took place, everyone present would have a flag to wave. On the National Mall, for Spotlight News, I'm Annalisa Gale.
Thank you, Annalisa, for that report. The inauguration was also on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Volunteers celebrated Dr. King's life with the National Day of Service. Spotlight reporter Kelsey Tisdale has the story.
In the spirit of giving, different volunteers found ways to help their communities for the Martin Luther King National Day of Service. The transitional housing site on Girard Street attracted more than 30 volunteers at a service event sponsored by Community of Hope.
And because of the legacy of Dr. King and the importance of this weekend with the president, it says, we just could give a little of your time. It may mean and help a lot.
Volunteers from various backgrounds made their way to Girard Street. Amongst them were also Howard University students.
I really enjoy volunteering, to be honest with you, for the less fortunate people who don't have what we have.
I feel like that's our obligation as, Howard students who live in the area. We should also try to uplift the community as well as we try to uplift ourselves in pursuing an education and whatnot.
This transitional home holds much significance in the community. The coordinators for the event took the time to explain the purpose of the building and express their appreciation for the volunteers.
Community of Hope has about 6 different sites, both health and housing facilities, and Girard Street is one of our oldest, so there are 20 families that live here, about 40 children.
Community of Hope is really lucky to have so many committed volunteers, advocates, and donors.
Volunteer Gabrielle Devlin talks about the importance of giving back to your community.
I think it's important to get people to get involved in our community. I feel a problems that's growing out outdoors. And I think it's important to, get out of your home and actually see what's going on for yourself and do something about it.
Today marks of great importance for a lot of people and a lot of different organizations, but volunteering doesn't have to stop here. You can always find more opportunities to get involved in your community. I'm Kelsey Tisdale reporting to you from Spotlight News.
President Obama and the First Family volunteered at Burville Elementary School here in Washington, D.C.
President Obama danced the night away to Al Green at the official inaugural ball. But there were lots of other celebrations that weekend as well. Spotlight reporter Shaquille Brewster went to one and tells us what makes this ball a little different.
Dancing, food, and live performances are how numerous people in Washington, D.C. celebrated the second inauguration of President Barack Obama. And the HBCU inaugural gala was no exception.
When I was looking at the galas that they had done in other inaugurations, they didn't really seem interesting to me. So I decided I wanted to just create my own.
Stacey Hawkins, along with a group of alumni of historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, started the gala to not only celebrate HBCUs, but to also raise money for the students attending them. 4 years ago at the first HBCU gala, the event raised about $3,000 for students. However, organizers say this is more than about money. It's about keeping HBCUs relevant.
It's not where you've been, it's where you're going. And that's what the HBCUs have done for us traditionally, and they continue to do.
I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to be here for the inauguration and to also contribute to the education in our community.
While Alex, one of the night's entertainers, used his performance to honor the artists that he says used their music to eliminate divides.
Man, it felt really good to just see the response and see people respond to a lot of the songs that really set the pace so that President Barack Obama can run. People such as Sam Cooke and Otis Redding.
The gala honored African American history while celebrating another historic moment. For Spotlight News, I'm Shaquille Brewster.
Thanks, Shaquille. It looks like you had a ball.
Coming up, Magic Johnson makes a slam dunk with Howard University's business students.
I'm Sandra Fry. I'm a union bus driver, and I'm also a mom. During 17 years with Greyhound, I've covered over 2 million miles. My job is to safely bring families together. I love the open road, but I never forget that a drowsy or careless driver could be right around the next curve. Drunk driving is the deadliest of all. As a mom and as a bus driver, I have a message for you. If you drink, don't drive.
Welcome back to Spotlight News. I'm Jonquilyn Hill.
And I'm Todd Leggett. Students' tuition will not increase next year. The Board of Trustees unanimously approved an undergraduate tuition freeze for the 2013-2014 school year. Spotlight reporter Siobhan Anderson shows us how students are reacting.
As college tuition continues to rise around the country, students at Howard University won't have to worry about forking over more money next year. The Howard University Board of Trustees unanimously approved not to increase undergraduate tuition for the 2013-2014 academic year. In a Howard press release, President Sidney Rabeau states, "The university remains firmly committed to access and affordability. We have decided on a 0% increase to relieve the growing economic pressures for students and their families."
It's been something that I've heard has been trying to be put in the works for a while now, and the fact that it's actually coming to pass for the incoming freshmen and for continuing students is actually a very, very good thing.
I'm happy. I'm happy that it's staying stagnant where it's at, because now the money that I was going to use for tuition can go to me getting a car next year since I live off campus, and the gas that I need.
According to a report published by collegeboard.com, states have cut the amount of money given to colleges by over $15.2 billion since 2007. Since then, enrollment has increased 12%.
How the tuition freeze can have a direct impact on the students in a good way, because a lot of students, sometimes they come into the office and they don't know how they're going to pay their tuition, and so raising it every year just escalates the problem.
Howard will continue to offer extensive financial aid support, including need-based grants, trustee scholarships, and merit fellowships. An additional $25 million in assistance will fill the financial aid gap for deserving students, all a part of President Rabeau's Bridging the Gap Student Aid campaign established last March.
Despite the freezing tuition, Howard University remains the second most expensive HBCU behind Spelman College. For Spotlight Network, I'm Siobhan Anderson.
Last year, undergraduate tuition increased 12%.
Howard hosted Harvard University for a great debate. The topics included gun control and selective service. Spotlight's Carissa Braxton shows us the highlights.
Welcome for what we promise will be another great debate.
The Howard community gathered in Crampton Auditorium for the anticipated debate against Harvard College. An extension of the School of Communications, the Martin Luther King Forensic Program consists of the mock trial and debate team coached by attorney Angela Minor. Howard University was ready to take on Harvard College.
They're trained to argue both pro and both con, whatever the resolution is. They're trained to ignore their interpersonal feelings about these resolutions, and they're ready to argue both sides in an entertaining, witty, and intellectual way, and a scholarly way.
Holding gun manufacturers liable and selective service for women were chosen as topics due to recent events and national coverage.
I personally find the gun manufacturers and whether or not they should be liable, that topic to be really interesting, especially in light of the kind of national debate on gun control.
The first topic, we really wanted to make sure that people understood that we're really trying to promote equality. And the second topic, we wanted to make sure that we're doing the best we can to really prevent gun violence.
Both teams received varied responses from the crowd, and it was announced that both teams were winners.
They were given awards on presentation, on speaking. I would have to say Howard University would have won.
It wasn't about choosing a winner or a loser. Both teams walked away with the trophy after debating their positions. For Spotlight News, I'm Carissa Braxton.
Howard's debate team also took on Columbia University this semester.
Magic Johnson visited Howard University Hospital and spoke with business students. Spotlight reporter Tiffany Dupree shares his advice.
More than 20 years after being diagnosed with HIV, Irving Magic Johnson came to Howard University Hospital to talk about his journey with the virus and how he became a businessman.
Protecting yourself, number one. Being educated about HIV and AIDS. Then go get tested and then go back for the results. Because
after the press conference, Magic Johnson went to the hospital's auditorium where he was able to answer questions directly from the School of Business students from Howard University.
Make sure what you're going into, there's a business that you can do. Because unfortunately, sometimes we go into things or want to get into a business, there will be no business there.
One student was able to speak directly to Magic Johnson and told Spotlight key points that he took from the conversation.
I learned that I need to keep a strong work ethic being a freshman finance major, and I also learned that I need to see the goal right now in order to make it happen in the future.
Bailey says he can start applying what he learned to his life now.
Right now I'm just going to stay focused on my schoolwork, try to keep a strong GPA, and I also want to influence others to follow in my footsteps, other high schoolers.
Magic Johnson says having HIV did not hinder him, but made him a stronger man. This is Tiffany Dupree for Spotlight News.
Thank you for that report, Tiffany. Up next, we'll see how black colleges and universities reach out to local students.
Stay tuned to Spotlight News.
We used to get together every week. She's been home from her last deployment for months now, and I haven't seen her once.
He's just been different since he got back from Iraq. One minute he's ready to go, and the next he doesn't want anyone around.
The nightmares are back and seem to be getting worse. Shouldn't he be sleeping better after all these years?
A lot of people don't understand what veterans go through during their service or when they come back. And that's okay.
But everyone can help.
You can make a difference in the life of a veteran.
You stood by us when we were in uniform. So stand by us now.
Like my brother did. And he wouldn't take no for an answer.
Like my wife did when she asked the right questions.
Like my friend did when she made the call.
Stand by them. They stood by you. Visit veteranscrisisline.net.
The Spotlight Network is the only student-run network here on the campuses of Howard University.
Spotlight?
Spotlight Network, yep. It's an on-campus student-run.
Just happens to be called Spotlight?
Bringing coverage relevant to you, the student. Look for us on campus, on the web at husln4.com. Follow us on Facebook and like our page. Check us out on Twitter at SLNTV_4. By the way, have you been spotted by Spotlight?
Yo, what's happening? It's your Royal Hypeness Angie Edge, representing 93.9 WKYS, the School of C at Howard University, alumni, and I've been spotted by Spotlight.
This is Lamont Rucker, and I've been spotted by Spotlight.
We've been spotted by Spotlight. We are Mr. Howard University, and we've been spotted by Spotlight.
Thank you. How you doing? My name is Laz Alonso, jumping a broom and infamous, and I've been spotted by Spotlight. I've been spotted by Spotlight.
Who's gonna win the game?
HU. You know.
Welcome back to Spotlight News. The Supreme Court will soon decide if a major section of the Voting Rights Act is constitutional. Spotlight reporter Shaquille Brewster shows us the scene outside as justices hear oral arguments.
Today we stand in the shadows of our Supreme Court, where justice and democracy is on trial.
People from all across the country rallied at the steps of the Supreme Court.
Voting rights is about who we are as Americans. It is about the cause of equality.
The case, Shelby County versus Holder, questions Section 5 of the law. It requires 9 states and certain counties in 6 other states get pre-clearance or approval before changing voting laws. David Parrish helped write the Voting Rights Act and sees Section 5 as critical.
I currently live in Florida, and I've seen the impact of voter suppression and the ability or the attempts of states to suppress the voting rights of not just minorities, but people with less power.
Opponents of the law say Section 5 is unconstitutional. They say it was intended to be a temporary emergency measure to prevent states from changing voting laws. Now they insist it is no longer necessary. But Congressman John Lewis disagrees.
Raising questions like how many bubbles in a bar of soap, how many jelly beans in a jar may be gone. But people are using other means, other tactics and techniques.
While supporters and opponents of the Voting Rights Act express confidence the justices will rule in their favor, they must both wait until June, when the court is expected to announce its decision. Reporting from the Supreme Court, I'm Shaquille Brewster, Spotlight News.
The Voting Rights Act was last reauthorized in 2006 under President George W. Bush. In that legislation, Section 5 was extended for 25 years.
A local church celebrates and maintains the rich legacy of historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, by encouraging youth to go to school. Spotlight reporter Radajan Moore has the details on how a church influences HBCU attendance.
Alfred Street Baptist Church in Alexandria, Virginia hosted its 2013 HBCU Festival at T.C. Williams High School. This year's fair is the biggest one yet, created after churchgoers realized their children weren't considering historically black colleges.
What our HBCUs offer is a fair competition with other schools that are not predominantly of color, a family environment, a great alumni network, and an opportunity to be nurtured in a way that causes you to be a success.
Students and their parents attended the event.
HBCUs will give black students the most help that they need, and they will help to further their education and take an interest in every student.
I'm just trying to expand my horizons and look into different colleges, universities.
There are only 105 HBCUs out of nearly 5,000 colleges in the U.S. According to various news outlets, there has been much discussion over whether HBCUs are still relevant.
Well, I think it's very relevant. I think we have to remember the mission of the HBCUs, and that's to foster education in low-income minority communities.
For someone who can't go to a Harvard, who can't go to a Stanford, they can get a Harvard and a Stanford education from a Howard, from a Hampton, from a Fisk, from a Tuskegee, great institutions that are producing great individuals.
Over 61 colleges and universities are represented at the 2013 HBCU Festival. For Spotlight News, I'm Radajan Moore.
In addition to on-site admissions, scholarships were also given at the HBCU Festival.
Thousands of people flocked to the convention center to get a peek at new car models. Spotlight reporter Malcolm Carter takes us to the Washington Auto Show.
Back for another year, the 2013 Washington Auto Show kicked off their annual event at the convention center, hosting hundreds of people within the DMV area. Models for the new year were on display, and guests were shown some of the safety controls and new technology. There were state-of-the-art driving simulations that allowed drivers to get a feel for a certain car and have a little fun at the same time. Some guests were reminded of their experiences here as a child.
Just saying, it's still, it's different. When you're a kid, everything's a lot bigger, more grandeur, wow, look at all this. But it's still fun to be here. Everything's shiny. It's like toys. Guys love toys. These cars are all like toys. So you know what I'm saying. So it's fun to be here.
Right. Rolls-Royce, one of the more luxurious brands, was featured, but Fiat seemed to be the most popular with their test drive exhibit.
Everybody's really excited. They said it's the best exhibit here. It's cool seeing the cars driving inside, so everybody likes it.
Okay. Are you a fan of the Fiat? Or?
Of course, I'm Italian. Why wouldn't I be?
Okay.
It seemed like most people had a good time at the show, despite the cost of food at least.
And there's a hot dog for $15. A hot dog.
You buy 5 of them, you can get
Now I am in shock.
Reporting for Spotlight News, I'm Malcolm Carter.
This year's show was extended from 5 to 10 days.
The Washington, D.C. Independent Film Festival is the oldest film festival in the nation's capital. It screens films from around the world. Spotlight reporter Cameron Leach has more on the event.
The D.C. Independent Film Festival, better known as DCIFF, began in 1999. The 2013 festival was held at the Naval Heritage Center with live entertainment from Amish. The 5-day event includes exclusive access to movie premieres, workshops, and panel discussions from industry professionals. In recent years, festivals have struggled to clarify the meaning of independent films to remain consistent with the culture. The DCIFF staff prides themselves on showcasing these films.
And I think great things about these smaller film festivals, DCIFF in comparison to larger film festivals, that it does give an opportunity to allow these filmmakers to show their work when they might not be able to be seen otherwise.
A 6-time feature director, Jane Clark, says this festival is unique when it comes to loyalty.
There's also a really strong synergy with issues here, so you know if you're going to screen your film here, you're probably going to get a lot of support for the issue, not just for the film.
The Washington, D.C. Independent Film Festival attracts hundreds of moviegoers and spectators. Many of the festival films have gone on to the Academy Awards, Sundance Festival, and more. In Northwest D.C., I'm Cameron Leach for Spotlight News.
We hope you enjoyed our roundup of stories from the spring semester.
Be sure to continue to follow Spotlight on Channel 4 and all dorms and buildings on campus.
You can also find us online at husln4.com. You can follow us on Twitter at SLNTV_4. I'm Jonquilyn Hill.
And I'm Todd Leggett. Thank you for watching.